Better get yourself into a hazmat suit, Agent. We just got word that the experimental antivirals lost in the dark zone have been located. There's no time to wait. You and a team need to go secure them right now, or someone else will.
Come on, move it! We don't have much time! We need to be in the air before the storm hits!
But we've got a storm coming in. They say it'll make Sandy look like a snowball fight. We're locking the base down for the duration, and Rhodes says the weather might bork all our comms, so we can't count on being in contact.
Hold on! We'll be there soon!
Just get there before the storm really hits. And listen, do whatever you need to do to get back alive. You're needed. Loud out.
What is going on, everybody? It's Wally with the Misadventures, and today, in light of some recent news and stumbling across a game mode, or I should say being forcibly drugged into a game mode I'd never tried before by some friends, I wanted to talk to you guys about The Division. And holy cow, first and foremost, The Division 2 is officially announced. Like, we don't know much yet, but we do know that it should be a continuation of the story, and that the company as a whole says that they're going to use what they have learned over the last couple years and bring out The Division 2 in what should be just as good of a state, if not a better state, than the current Division, which would be something, I think, super refreshing and super awesome to actually get a chance to experience and see a sequel to a game actually fulfill its role as a sequel and sort of move forward. Looking at you, Destiny 2. Anyways, all bitterness aside though, I'm super excited. I can't wait for E3, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what these guys have to say and what we're going to actually learn about The Division 2. But reeling it back now into the current game, Survival. Holy cow, I had never played it before, and I have to say, this is now, like, in recent memory, my all-time favorite game mode. In almost any game I can think of that I have found in recent time, this is it. Like, it doesn't get much better than this. Survival is, well, it's brutal, for one, like, savagely brutal. And unbelievably well put together, in my opinion. It can be tricky and it can be very frustrating, but it was so different. It takes nearly everything that I like about The Division, you know, the whole idea of being a looter shooter and having to scavenge in a war-torn city.
There's another one to the left. And
it throws it all into a game mode that presents it in an incredibly well and very awesomely packaged setup. So the premise of Survival is, as you guys saw with the intro trailer there, you are going to go and find the infection samples, the antivirals. And while you're going, your helicopter gets crashed and you will randomly spawn in one of the safe houses across the map. And from there, you know, you've been infected with sepsis, so your wounds that you get, you know, they're infected. And what you have to do is you have to fight off this infection by taking medications. And then not only on top of that, but you have to eat and you have to drink. If you don't eat, then your health regeneration gets affected. If you don't drink, then your vision gets affected and your screen gets all sort of blurry and weird and you can't keep good eyes on anything. It's intense. And on top of all that, you have nothing for gear. You have the most, like, bare bones basic scrap gear. I think the beginning of the game started you off with better gear than what you get. And it's pretty awful. And all you have is a sidearm. You don't have a primary, you don't have a secondary, nothing. You just have that sidearm. And you have to go out into the cold, and the cold will kill you. You have to wander out into the cold, and you have to worry about AI. And you have to go and you have to fight these AI. Oh, and by the way, on top of just being PvE, there's also a PvP mode, meaning other players that you come across, you could fight, kill, and engage with them as well. So not only do you have to worry about AI, which, you know, now because you have no gear and you're stripped back down to bare bones of nothing, even red bars are terrifying sometimes. You also have to worry about the players, and the players can be, well, as we all know, very crafty. So, in addition to players, NPCs, and having to eat and drink and fighting off this infection, I made mention of the cold. Now, the cold in this game is brutal. You have to navigate your way along these streets and either A, try to find buildings or hideouts or areas that you can get inside of and try to warm up, or these little fire barrels that you have to ignite, which, you know, if you're standing beside a fire barrel and you're playing PvP, you're kind of a very clear and obvious target. Now, you can do things to combat the cold, which would be crafting or either finding articles of clothing. That's right, one of the biggest systems in this game that I have always loved was the fact that, you know, your armor and your apparel items are separate of each other. Your armor is still worn, sure, and you can still see it, but it all kind of looks the same, right? I mean, there's minor details and differences as you get different gear sets and things of that nature, so you can kind of identify it at a glance. But by and by, it doesn't affect the large look of your character. That's much more derivative of the apparel items that you're wearing. And in this game mode, anyway, the apparel items actually have a stat. Different apparel items will give you different levels of thermal insulation. So your thermal insulation, the higher it is, the better you're going to survive out there in the cold. Actually, towards the end of this match, I was surviving fairly well. I didn't find it too terribly cold at all. But that being said, you know, you got to find clothing, you got to find weapons and gear, you got to make all this stuff, you got to manage your inventory. All the while, you're on a timer because, like I said, you're infected, you have sepsis, and you're gonna die. So you have to not only A, navigate from your crash site and survive all of the elements, but then you have to find your way into the dark zone. And the dark zone is fun. Once you start to get closer to the dark zone, enemies start to get harder, more difficult. You'll start to see purple bars showing up, which usually not a problem for my character. The way that I'm built, I'll one-shot a purple bar, no problem. These guys aren't that way. Purple bars are pretty threatening. Like I said, you know, red bars were threatening. Guys with not shields, but no armor value to their health at all. They were rather threatening, and we had to coordinate as a three-man team fairly well. And there was one point in time when we almost lost it very early on. And that would have sucked, but one of the fun features there, by the way, with almost having died is it pops up on the screen as players in this game mode begin to die. I think you go into this game mode with 20 other people. There are 20 people in total, I should say, because you might have teams and you might have solos and things of that nature. But as people die, it'll flick across the screen and say, you know, so many of 20 left. And I remember one time when we were running in and all of a sudden it flashed up, bling, 4 of 20 left. And we were a 3-man group, so there were only 4 people. There was only one other dude out there besides us. So I can only imagine how scared he was. But anyways, once you go through and you make it into the dark zone, you finally start having to fight gold bar guys. Well, anyways, you got to navigate the dark zone. Very often, we just avoided the fights. We didn't bother with them. We didn't want to hassle with them or do anything of that nature. And so we wound our way all through these fights, and we found our virus samples. You know, we found the vaccine samples. And so we got the vaccine samples, we got the materials together, we built a flare gun, And we're like, all right, we're right near an extraction point. Let's go extract. Now, I have seen what showed up next in the underground. And those were the agent hunters. And I know that they were introduced with survival and then later on brought into the underground because they are rather popular as far as a very difficult enemy to fight. And even though these guys have no armor, they maneuver, they react, they use abilities, everything almost exactly as a human-controlled player would. And it's a tough fight. It's an incredibly tough fight. Matter of fact, you know, spoiler alert, but we all died. We spent over an hour in this singular match trying to rummage around for gear and survive and keep each other healthy and share supplies and get all the way in. And we got to the extraction point and we were within the last 30 seconds, because you got to hold off this extraction point for, I think it's what, 3 minutes? But within the last 30 seconds, I go down. You know, one of our other buddies, he's already died, and the last guy alive doesn't have any med kits, because you can't just revive people in this game. Or in this game mode, I should say. You actually have to have a med kit to pick them up. Well, it didn't end well. We all died, and all of the gear, the sealed caches that you would loot, that you would get to extract with, lost them all. So, I mean, the game isn't totally unrewarding. It does give you caches based off of your performance and how well that you did, which is a very nice thing. But man, was that heartbreaking. I think we played in that match for somewhere between an hour and 15 and an hour and a half. And oh, just a heartbreaking feeling at the very end to have come so close and made it so far and then just to lose. And that's something that I really actually enjoyed. I know that sounds mental, but the fact that when you start off you have no gear and you have to scrap for this gear and scavenge it up from all over and work together. And honestly, you know, you would think that a larger group of people would have an easier time, right? Well, they got to share the supplies. Instead of being instanced to your specific game, the supplies are shared across the entire server. So if I open up a backpack and it has a, you know, a med kit, only one out of the 3 of us got to keep that med kit. So having larger groups is almost a disadvantage over single player guys. But having larger groups also means that you have friends who can help you out in a pinch. So it's an incredibly well built game mode. Honestly, I'm hooked. I'm addicted to it, and I cannot wait to play more of it this weekend. And especially with the global events that are going on right now because of, you know, the 2-year anniversary of the release of The Division. It's pretty awesome, and I think the game is in a great place right now, and I'm really glad to see it have become something that is actually worth my time and worth my effort to play. I quit playing this game a long time ago for reasons at a point right now that I honestly couldn't tell you. I play it now and I wonder why I ever quit. You know, there were issues with it. Do not get me wrong. The game was far from perfect and horribly broken in some aspects when it was first released. There's no denying that at all. You know, when you have a gun in the game that you have to completely change its abilities and the way that abilities work in the game because it's so game breaking, you know, someone obviously wasn't thinking when they built that. But now, here we are in 2018, and the game runs great. It really does. It feels good, it looks good, it plays well. And I have been greatly enjoying my time with it. So, here's to looking forward to, you know, The Division 2. I hope that the devs really are not joking when they say that they learned from everything that they did over the course of the last 2 years, and with the community feedback and the settings and, you know, just the little things in this game that make it what it is. You know, the ability to share loot, the party system, the matchmaking, the way the guns play and feel, and how all the weapons and classes that you can do feel so different and yet all feel good. I really hope that they can bring that momentum forward into the next game and really knock it out of the park. And I cannot wait to see what they have to produce at E3. So, anyways, guys, that's going to do it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. It's been my pleasure to entertain you this afternoon. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe to keep up with all things new from Buff and Wally, and make sure to hit that bell to get notifications from our channel. If you don't, YouTube's kind of wonky and it won't exactly always give you notifications when you should get them, so always make sure to do that. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your continued patronage.
Oh, shit.
It means just the world to Buff and myself. You know, every day when we get on and we see the numbers on YouTube and we see the videos and we see the views and the likes, it boggles our minds still to this day how you guys can actually watch, enjoy, and accept the random creations that we happen to make for you. So thank you so much. You know, we couldn't do it without you, and we absolutely do it for you. So from all of us here at the Misadventures, thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys after a while.
But based on how you did, you'll get loot. Based on how...
Two agents remaining.